Merry Christmas to all of you. To the members of Holy Name Parish, the guests from around the Archdiocese, visitors who have come to be with family and friends, students who are home on break, and anyone who has just come to Chicago to enjoy our beautiful weather this time of the year. It's always like this here in December. Blessings to all of you and your families. For this first Mass of Christmas Day, the Church gives us this passage that we have proclaimed from the Gospel of Luke. It features the shepherds on the hillside. They are the first to hear the good news of Christ's birth. And the suggestion is that their experience has set the standard and will always be the point of reference for how people in every age from then on will welcome the Christ child into the world. And so it's good for us this night to pay close attention to how they respond and how this night impacts their lives. The first thing that we hear is that all of this takes place in the middle of the night. The shepherds, we're told, are keeping watch, guarding their flock, when the good news is revealed to them by the angelic chorus that breaks the silence and the darkness of the night. What happens changes their perspective about the night, about darkness. Understandably, their attention is on the danger that lurks in the darkness of night, the attack of wild beasts, which can endanger and scatter the sheep, thieves who might plunder their herd. And they also know another kind of social darkness in dealing with the great Roman Empire, which forces them to live in the shadow of powers that have so much control over their livelihood, their economy, their security. But this night is different. For they are drawn to see that there is something else happening in the night, in the darkness. God is at work to save his people. A light in the darkness shines this night. We gather this midnight only too aware that there is a great deal of darkness, uncertainty in our world. There are dangers lurking in the shadows of night, the threats of violence in our streets, the menacing forces of terrorism that grips our collective hearts in fear. And there are many hidden powers that hold sway over our lives and create an inequality in our local and worldwide communities. But like the shepherds, this night, we are called to believe that there is more to the darkness, that God is at work in the darkness, walking with us. For the one who is born this night is named Emmanuel, a name which means that God is with us. God with us in the darkness. The darkness found in the world can challenge our faith and can divide us, paralyze us in fear. That's what terrorism wants. We know all too well how some even exploit these fears to divide us as a nation, as a world, for their own gain. The shepherds call us to another approach as we deal with the darkness in the world. They urge us to believe that we are not left to ourselves in the darkness, abandoned to fend for ourselves, or worse yet, that we are divided enemies. We're competitors to overcome each other. No, the shepherds this dark night reminds us that God is with us. He is Emmanuel. Their message was echoed centuries later by St. John of the Cross in a passage that I often return to. He once wrote, "When you are in darkness and cannot see anything or find a way out, then the only thing you can do is to put your hand into the hand of someone who can see, who can lead you, out into the light. Confident that God is working on this dark night, the shepherds say to one another, "Let us go then to Bethlehem to see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." What is it that they're going to see? The newborn child, but a child that's born in an animal's feed box, a manger, who's wrapped, clothed in swaddling clothes, in rags. They are not daunted, these shepherds, by the neediness of this refugee child and his family. Sometimes we find ourselves falling into the temptation that God is not with the needy, with those whom we have a tough time being with, or whom we easily judge as beyond God's care and love because they don't measure up to our standards. The shepherds are testing our faith this night to believe that God is first with those the world considers marginal, beyond help, sinners, the disposable, the losers. We know these people in our neighborhoods, in our families. Maybe the shepherds found it easy to receive this message that God is with the forgotten and the powerless because they were themselves among that same class. But then does not that force us to see that in the end, we are all beggars, all of us are powerless, helpless when left to ourselves, mortal, weak, sinful human beings? The shepherds call us to a humble reality check about our lives before we too easily dismiss anyone as unimportant or a loser. There is one final thing we learn from the shepherds as they go to the Bethlehem stable. They tell the Holy Family what was revealed to them by the angelic host, and they leave everyone amazed, with Mary treasuring everything in her heart. The shepherds remind us that our faith is not just for ourselves to give us courage, but rather our faith lives are to be an example, to be a gift that should enrich others, enrich the community, the church, which, like Mary, considers each of our lives a treasure. In calling the Jubilee of Mercy, Pope Francis is urging us to take seriously the impact that we can have on one another by our example, our faith, our witness of how God is working in the darkness of our lives, how God has called us from sinfulness, how God has called us in our need, how God is present especially in those most in need. During this year, I have encouraged both individuals and families to choose one of the corporal or spiritual works of mercy and make it your own in practice. It will be by feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, visiting the sick, bearing wrongs patiently, comforting the afflicted, praying for the dead, and all the other works of mercy, that we, each of us, will make each day hereafter a celebration of Christmas that is true to what the shepherds teach us this night. So let us not let the darkness, the uncertainty of the world that we experience, leave us afraid or divided in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our nation, in our world. For God is at work this dark night as Emmanuel. Let us be real about our own poverty and neediness. Let us not be afraid of our poverty, our neediness, and therefore not be afraid of those who come to us in need. And let us go forth into the night at the end of this Mass and be willing to encourage one another to believe by our example, giving each other a gift that they can treasure in their hearts. It will in that spirit then that we can wish each other a Merry Christmas.